Hi, I'm Martha Wasp with the Comptroller's Office, and we're talking with Lieutenant Vergil Ratliff today. She is in the Criminal Investigation Division. Hi, Vergil. Thank you so much for coming and speaking with us today.
Very good.
So, what do you think of or think about when you hear about Black History Month?
When I hear about Black History Month, I think about those African American men and women and children who have contributed to a better community, society, and environment for our entire country, our entire nation, and the milestones that they have achieved, and the journey itself. Because all of us, regardless of race, we all have a journey, and we all and a purposeful journey. And just to be able to exemplify that and to express that this month, focusing on African Americans and their contributions, is awesome. You know, it's really an awesome thing. So that's what I think about when I think about Black History Month.
So, is there a specific Black woman from history that so inspires you? And what about maybe a Black woman from today?
Well, you know what? I am. I consider myself old. I'm almost 60, and almost 60 years old. And one of the things that I have to say is that when we transition through life, things that were important to us early in life tend to change as we move and grow older. When I was growing up, of course, we learned about African American women like Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman and those activists and those women who were women of valor who really paved the way for our freedom and assisted in the civil rights and understanding the civil rights and made us understand what freedom, as far as those who were enslaved, what that meant and why it was important. And then you move to another era in time, and you do look at the civil rights, and you look at people like Rosa Parks, who, was sat on the bus in Selma, Alabama, and refused to move because she said that today is not the day, And you realize that I don't have to be in the back. I can drive the bus, and I can be a leader on the forefront of this one of these movements. And so you look at that. But then as you grow older and you start developing and working and everything, you have an appreciation for people like Madam C.J. Walker, who was the first African American female millionaire, and you look at that, and she did it in hair care products, and so you start saying, wow, here's a woman who can be a millionaire and a businesswoman and understand what that is. And now history has shown us that three wonderful women were part of the NASA space program in 1962, where John Glenn went to around the orbit. And these mathematicians and these engineers, such as Mary Jackson, were part of making those things happen. So you can be proud of those women. And for the now, every woman is my hero. Be it Black, be it white, be it, every woman who's out there every day, challenging herself to be better and challenging herself with a purpose to be a contributing factor to our community. And so, we're all heroes, I believe.
I've gotten chills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. That was beautifully said. So what does being a Black woman mean to you?
Well, you know what? I remember growing up, and my mother and father were both business people. My mother didn't work for anybody, and my father didn't either, so my mother was a hair cosmetologist, and she went to school, and she was extremely good in hair coloring. And so she understood extensions, and she could grow your hair. If you come to a ball, my mother could literally, she had a hand. They called her the growing hand. And my father was, he was probably into lawn service, but we're going to call it domestic engineering, because he did everything, had cleanup crews and the whole 9 yards. So he did a lot of that. But one of the things I said with me being a black woman is that my parents always told me that you need to always leave things better than you found them. And you need an education, and you need to make sure that you can provide for yourself, and to make sure that even though you may be looked upon, because the first thing they see is an African American individual, because I grew up in 1959, so I was on that cutting edge of the civil rights movement. And she said to us, even though you may be looked at and may be frowned upon because of the color of your skin, it is up to you to make sure that they understand that you are educated, you are articulate, and that you deserve to be in any place that you so desire to be. And so for all of my life, you had questioned why I come into a male-dominated profession. Mm-hmm. I deserve to be here, and that is why I'm here.
That sounds like Mary Jackson from...
Yes.
I mean,
I deserve to be, yes.
She had a very similar outlook.
Testament, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. What do you think are the major challenges that are facing Black Americans or Black American women today?
Well, our challenges are not unique to us. That they are not, that our challenges are not faced with others who are in any other race. All of us have dreams. All of us have inspirations or aspirations to do certain things. And I think that at certain times in our lives, there's always going to be obstacles or challenges in a person's way to inhibit them from doing certain things. Now, certainly I know that there is a lot of things on the forefront of our communities, like Black Lives Matters, and I'm a believer that all lives matter. And I do understand our challenges, and I do understand the challenges of some of the things that have been going on. But I do believe that, we as a culture of people have a unique way of expressions, and I think there needs to be more dialogue for people to understand. Just as I mentioned just a minute ago, I just went to Korea, and it was a wonderful challenge to embrace their culture and understand why they do the things that they do. And I think that we need to be challenged with each other, all of us, as a community of people, as a nation of people, to embrace each other's thoughts, feelings, differences, and be able to accept them and carry on. Yeah.
That's beautifully said, yeah. Vergil, and it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you today.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure being interviewed.
I could listen to you all day. You're just wonderful, and we really appreciate the time that you've taken.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.